için videoyu ekrana yansıtabilmek konusunda. Teşekkür ederiz. İyi seyirler diliyorum.
I think most of the absurd questions come from traditional moral philosophy, largely because they're still working with folk theories. How much of traditional moral philosophy is still arguing about whether morals are desires or beliefs to folk psychological notions. And so much of traditional moral philosophy follows from that. So some people argue that morals are desires, their subjective preferences, their emotions. Other people think that morals are beliefs. They're cognitive. They could be true and false. And and there's lots of different varieties of those points of view. And the more inventive thinkers say, well, no, hang on, I've got an idea. Morals are desires that we desire, or they're rational reasons. Or then other people say, no, they're reasons that we desire. They're desiring reasons, or they're believing passions, or they're whatever. But the point is, they start off with these two substances, and then they generate a whole a huge theoretical system of stuff that doesn't make any sense. So many, like if you're trying to do chemistry with just water and fire, and you tried to earth, wind, water, and fire. And you tried to make sense of the physical world with just this outdated folk notion of what stuff. I think a lot of, or the majority of traditional moral philosophy or approaches to understanding morality are absurd in this way, that they're rooted in ancient Greek and medieval understandings of the world and of human nature. I think the future is very bright. When I first started studying morality, you could really only study it in philosophy departments. And over the last 10, 20, 30 years, all of that has completely changed. I mean, the idea that you'd have front page stories in Science or Nature about morality or moral psychology would have been unheard of a few decades ago. But now, because we're taking morality seriously, because we're looking at it as a science, we have insights we can draw on from genetics and game theory and animal behavior and psychology and neuroscience and anthropology and all the rest. The future will be brighter still. I guess the overarching recommendation is just to do science, just to treat morality as just another part of human nature, just another part of human behavior, and study it as an ordinary object of science in the same way as you'd study vision or motor control or language or anything else. And don't worry about what philosophers say. Philosophers are fighting a rearguard action, desperate to maintain that there's something mysterious or magical about morality that will always be out of reach to the scientists. And I think that's just it's obscurantism. It's sort of like the last gasp of a failing religion. So I would encourage students of morality to just approach it as a science. Start from first principles, generate testable hypotheses and put them to the test, and treat what philosophers say with a pinch of salt. I think that we've had enough studies trying to distinguish between deontology and utilitarianism using trolley problems. I think we've had quite enough of them. I don't have anything against trolley problems per se. I can see that they're a useful tool in some instances, but but in particular, I'm not sure it's useful to try and distinguish between these folk theories of morality, deontology and utilitarianism, which I think are incoherent by themselves. I don't think you can really derive predictions about what's right and wrong from those theories without a lot of additional auxiliary assumptions, and you can derive the same things from both theories and different things from the same theories. So I think we don't need to waste any more time on that. And I think that there's other areas that are insufficiently explored that could be explored. So, for example, I'm interested in whether cooperative theories of morality can be extended to include, for example, can be used to explain our attitudes to other species, whether it explains which animals we feel we have a moral obligation to and which ones we don't. I'm interested in whether the cooperative approach can be used to explain sexual morality, which I think is very understudied and under hypothesized. If morality is all about cooperation, then perhaps sexual morality is about cooperation between the sexes, within and between the sexes. And we think the things that men and women and everyone else work on, many aspects of sexual morality, I think obviously fall under the cooperative framework, things like marriage contracts and cheating, being unfaithful on those contracts very obviously fall in that case in terms of the sexual contract. I think many other aspects of sexual morality probably do.
Teşekkür ediyoruz. Bir 5 dakika sonra kolaylaştırıcılığını Büşra Eylem Aktaş'ın üstleneceği panelimiz başlayacaktır. Az sonra görüşmek üzere.